Hi guys, it's me, Dr. Sandra Lee. Many of you guys know me as Dr. Pimple Popper. I'm here to talk to you today about eczema. So if your skin seems to be angry with you, if it's really itchy and dry and cracked, there's a chance that you may actually be suffering from eczema.
Everyone knows Dr. Sandra Lee as the fearless Pimple Popper, who built a career doing what most people can hardly bear to watch. But while the world celebrated her remarkable success, a heartbreaking reality was quietly unfolding behind closed doors. At 55, Dr. Sandra Lee experienced a devastating tragedy that turned her world upside down, proving that even the most respected healers cannot always protect themselves from life's deepest heartbreaks. From suburban clinic to viral phenomenon. Long before millions of everyday people started tuning in to watch surgical extractions on their smartphones, Sandra Lee was simply running a busy local medical practice in Southern California. Born on December 20th, 1970, in Flushing, Queens, to a Singaporean dermatologist, father, and a Malaysian mother, she moved with her young family to the West Coast when she was just 5 years old. From there on, watching her father care for patients inspired her to follow in his footsteps. She attended UCLA for her undergraduate degree and went on to earn her medical degree from Drexel University College of Medicine in 1998. After completing her dermatology residency at Southern Illinois University, she joined her husband, Dr. Jeffrey Rebish, at Skin Physicians and Surgeons in Upland, California, building a steady life focused on standard medical skin care. But in 2014, everything changed due to a simple social media experiment. Dr. Lee opened an Instagram account to give the public a realistic, behind-the-scenes look into the everyday work of a practicing dermatologist. When she uploaded a short video showing a routine blackhead extraction, the online reaction was immediate and surprising. She realized she had stumbled upon a vast, previously hidden subculture of viewers who self-identified as popaholics. These viewers found watching skin extractions strangely relaxing and deeply satisfying. To keep up with the growing demand for new videos, Dr. Lee created a clever barter system. She offered patients free or discounted surgical procedures for complex cysts and lipomas in exchange for signed media waivers, allowing her to film and share their treatments online. Rather than letting the content feel cheap or gross, Dr. Lee focused on education and human empathy. She used her videos to explain severe, often embarrassing skin conditions like rhinophyma and large keloids, helping demystify medical issues that many patients had suffered with in secret for years. Her gentle bedside manner turned what could have been an odd internet phase into a respected medical resource. As time went by, Dr. Lee's channel grew rapidly, eventually reaching nearly 9 million subscribers and over 6.5 billion total views across her YouTube channel. In 2017, she expanded her commercial reach even further by launching SLMD Skincare, a brand of over-the-counter products designed to bring accessible acne treatments straight to major retail store shelves nationwide. By combining clear clinical expertise with simple, relatable storytelling, Dr. Sandra Lee transformed from an ordinary suburban doctor into an unprecedented global pop culture phenomenon. And as we can see, she successfully built a thriving digital empire completely from scratch. But as digital algorithms began to shift, the very platform that built her empire was about to pull the rug out from right under her. When medical duty collides with Hollywood glamour. When television executives at TLC saw the massive audience Dr. Sandra Lee was pulling on social media, they realized her unique medical work belonged on prime-time television. In 2018, the network signed her to host a dedicated cable series titled Dr. Pimple Popper, moving dermatological extractions from small smartphone screens to national television brought her compassionate care straight into millions of living rooms every single week. The show quickly became a major cable success, drawing top ratings and winning major industry honors like the Critics' Choice Real TV Award for Female Star of the Year. The partnership proved to be a massive victory for both the network and Dr. Lee. Its instant popularity led to expanded network coverage and spin-off programs like Before the Pop and Breaking Out, officially transforming her into a household name across traditional media. Behind the bright Hollywood spotlight, however, lay an exhausting daily reality that constantly tested her physical endurance. Juggling her primary responsibility as a board-certified dermatological surgeon with grueling, long filming schedules created a very overwhelming workload. Instead of treating patients in a quiet medical office, Dr. Lee suddenly had to perform complex surgical procedures under intense, hot studio lights, with heavy camera equipment positioned just inches away from her sterile surgical field. Each delicate surgery required her undivided clinical attention, despite the constant distraction of television producers and camera operators standing right beside her. And operating under that degree of close observation added immense pressure to every incision, knowing that millions of viewers at home would eventually watch and evaluate every move she made on air. To keep viewers hooked week after week, television producers actively sought out patients with the most extreme, rare, or giant skin conditions imaginable. Patients with massive lipomas and complex facial cysts were brought into the clinic, requiring longer and far more intricate operations under the cameras. Spending long hours leaning over surgical tables under bright lights took a heavy physical toll on her body, causing severe neck strain, persistent back pain, and deep physical exhaustion. Even after the film crew packed up their gear for the night, her workday was far from over. She still had to run her private practice at Skin Physicians and Surgeons, supervise her staff, handle clinic paperwork, and care for her regular non-television patients. So, balancing two full-time demanding careers left her with almost no personal time to rest or recharge. She was operating at absolute capacity every day, just to keep both worlds moving forward. Yet, while television networks celebrated record ratings, a silent storm was brewing behind the scenes on social media. The algorithm's betrayal, demonetization, digital censorship, and financial turmoil. As television viewers were enjoying new episodes of her hit show, a sudden algorithm change on YouTube threw Dr. Sandra Lee's entire online business into complete uncertainty. Without any prior warning, the platform updated its advertiser guidelines to classify medical procedures and surgical extractions as graphic content. Almost overnight, YouTube stripped advertising money from hundreds of her most popular videos, cutting off a huge portion of her revenue. This abrupt decision threatened the core financial engine that supported her digital work. For years, those advertising dollars had allowed her to offer free or low-cost surgical procedures to patients who could not otherwise afford care. Suddenly, the money funding sterile surgical supplies, local anesthetics, and clinical staff was gone, putting her famous barter system in financial jeopardy. To cover the high costs of running a fully equipped medical facility and continue treating complex patient cases, Dr. Lee knew she had to adapt quickly. In 2019, she introduced a paid monthly subscription platform called Dr. Pimple Popper All Access, offering dedicated fans exclusive content and early video releases. However, the decision backfired online, sparking swift criticism from longtime followers. Many upset fans accused her of greed, claiming she was hiding her popular videos behind an unfair paywall. The general public did not realize that performing minor surgeries safely required real financial resources, expensive medical equipment, and trained nursing staff. So, balancing public expectations with the financial realities of running a real clinic became a frustrating struggle. The challenges on social media continued to build as algorithms began restricting the overall reach of her accounts. Major platforms restricted her posts and reduced her visibility in public recommended feeds, classifying medical content as potentially disturbing to casual viewers. At the same time,
she faced widespread content theft across platforms. Fraudulent channels frequently downloaded her original surgical footage, cropped out her watermark, and re-uploaded the videos to profit off her hard work. Fighting these unauthorized channels meant spending valuable time and legal fees submitting copyright takedown requests just to protect her original content and brand identity from being stolen across the internet. To offset these digital setbacks and keep her clinic financially stable, Dr. Lee expanded her commercial business model beyond ad revenue. She focused more heavily on her SLMD skincare line, placing her over-the-counter acne and skin products into major retail stores nationwide. Building a solid physical product line provided her business with reliable income that did not depend on unpredictable video algorithms or social media rules. She successfully adapted her business to survive the platform changes, proving her resilience as an entrepreneur. Financial and platform stress were taxing, but nothing prepared Dr. Pimple Popper for the crushing psychological toll brought by her desperate patients.
Bearing the emotional trauma of broken patients. While dealing with platform changes and business stress was difficult, the real emotional challenge came directly from the people walking through her door. As Doctor Sandra Lee became famous, her clinic in Upland quickly turned into a final destination for desperate patients who had nowhere else to turn. People traveled thousands of miles across the country, and sometimes from other parts of the world, just to see her. Many had been turned away by other medical professionals who lacked the specialized skills to remove large growths, while others were denied insurance coverage because their conditions were labeled as cosmetic rather than medically necessary. Living for years with disfiguring skin issues led many of these patients to experience deep depression, intense social anxiety, and total isolation. A lot of these individuals had spent years hiding away from public view, covering their bodies in loose clothing to conceal large lumps or facial skin growths. Some had not left their homes in years, or had even maybe contemplated ending it all before finding her. Now, consider a patient suffering from severe rhinophyma, a painful condition that causes the tissue around the nose to become red, swollen, and bulbous. In advanced cases, the skin grows so heavy that it reshapes the face, making breathing through the nose difficult and turning basic public interactions into humiliating experiences. So, patients often walked into Dr. Lee's clinic after hiding behind masks or staying indoors for years, desperate for a surgeon who could carefully sculpt the overgrown tissue back to its natural shape. And operating on these cases required shaving away dense layers of skin without damaging sensitive nasal cartilage or underlying blood vessels. But then, listening to these heartbreaking stories every single day took a heavy mental toll on Dr. Lee. Long before any surgery actually began, she sat with patients in quiet consultation rooms, absorbing years of grief and desperation. She was not just removing cysts, she was helping rebuild broken lives and people's confidence. However, that responsibility brought immense physical and mental pressure during operations. Performing surgery on television meant operating under extreme scrutiny. A single mistake with a scalpel on camera could sever a crucial facial nerve, cause severe bleeding, or leave permanent scarring on a patient who was already emotionally fragile. The knowledge that her work could either restore someone's confidence or accidentally make their life worse created a constant underlying anxiety. What viewers never saw on television was the extensive work that happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Dr. Lee spent countless hours managing post-operative care, monitoring recovery, and providing ongoing scar treatments to ensure her patients healed safely. She personally checked in on patients days and weeks after their procedures, making sure they were adjusting well both physically and psychologically. Even when her workday ended and she drove home to her family, she found it almost impossible to leave her patients' emotional stories at the office. Over time, feeling personally responsible for every desperate case that arrived at her desk created a quiet burden. Even when a surgery carried elevated medical risks, she hated turning away people who viewed her as their last chance at a normal life. she pushed herself to accommodate as many complex procedures as possible. As her emotional workload grew heavier, public scrutiny began questioning the ethics of turning human suffering into television entertainment, navigating exploitation claims and cyberbullying. As millions of viewers watched her latest videos each week, a sharp debate among media critics and medical ethicists began to take shape. Critics questioned whether broadcasting extreme medical conditions on television and social media was genuine education, or if it crossed into turning human suffering into entertainment. For years, television networks had relied on shocking physical transformations to drive up ratings, leading some commentators to compare medical reality shows to modern sensational sideshows. Dr. Sandra Lee found herself caught directly in the middle of this national discussion. To counter these heavy claims, she made a conscious effort to keep her bedside manner warm, patient, and deeply respectful. She insisted on treating every person in her examination chair with real dignity, focusing on their personal stories rather than just their physical symptoms. By humanizing her patients on camera, she demonstrated clearly that professional medical care should always be rooted in compassion. Despite her best efforts to protect her patients, the harsh reality of online culture presented problems she could not fully control. After an episode aired, vulnerable patients who had shared their deepest insecurities often faced cruel comments and hateful memes across social media platforms. Watching everyday people get mocked online after seeking medical treatment was deeply troubling for Dr. Lee and her staff. In response, her clinic established thorough consent protocols and mental health screening procedures before any filming took place. Potential guests were carefully evaluated to ensure they fully understood what broadcasting their detailed medical history to millions of international viewers meant. Her team also provided ongoing guidance after episodes aired, helping patients navigate sudden public attention and shielding them from the emotional toll of cyberbullying. At the same time, Dr. Lee defended her reputation against personal attacks from online critics and journalists who accused her of exploiting desperate people for personal fame and financial profit. She continually explained the subtle balance between cosmetic procedures and medical necessity. Many of the skin growths she removed were technically benign, meaning insurance providers refused to cover them as emergencies. However, living with visible growths caused severe emotional pain that disrupted her patients' daily lives. Treating those cases required specialized clinical care, and Dr. Lee maintained strict adherence to HIPAA regulations, board certification standards, and medical ethics during production. So, navigating these constant moral debates demanded steady focus as she worked to keep her medical standards intact under heavy public scrutiny. She never allowed camera crews to dictate medical choices or speed up complex surgical extractions for television drama. Protecting her patients always remained her top clinical priority, even as critics continued questioning her motives. While battling public opinion, Sandra was quietly fighting a far more intimate battle within the walls of her own home. Marital strain, family life, and quiet sacrifices. Behind her fast-growing public brand was her longest and most vital partnership with her husband, Dr. Jeffrey C. Rebish. The couple originally met during their medical school orientation at Drexel University and eventually got married in May 2000. Over the following 2 decades, they built a shared career as co-owners of Skin Physicians and Surgeons in Upland, California. While Dr. Sandra Lee became the visible face of their brand, her husband, Jeffrey, quietly took on the essential work of managing behind-the-scenes office operations, overseeing staff, handling financial logistics, and taking care of the heavy administrative burdens kept their medical clinic running smoothly every single day. Together, the couple made a firm, non-negotiable decision early on in her media career to shield their private household from public attention. Unlike many public figures who embrace reality television, they chose to keep their 2 teenage sons completely away from production crews, news cameras, and social media channels. Dr. Lee and Jeff believed strongly that their sons deserved an ordinary upbringing free from the relentless pressures, public scrutiny, and unpredictable commentary of internet stardom. Keeping their children out of the public spotlight meant establishing a clear, rigid boundary between their media work and their home life, ensuring their household remained a grounded sanctuary where their family could relax without outside interference. However, maintaining that private sanctuary required massive personal sacrifices that tested their day-to-day stamina as a married couple. Enduring routine 16-hour workdays split between patient procedures, office management, and production shoots left very little energy for normal family routines. Simple, everyday activities like enjoying unhurried weeknight dinners, going on family vacations, or following personal hobbies became rare occurrences. Running a high-demand clinic while managing an expanding commercial skincare company meant work discussions naturally spilled into their evening hours. Jeff served as a steady anchor throughout these demanding years, absorbing administrative stress so Dr. Lee could focus on direct patient care and rigorous filming requirements. Even with strong marital support, Dr. Lee found herself growing increasingly isolated from everyday social life. Non-stop work obligations gradually detached her from personal friendships, hobbies, and simple downtime outside the clinic walls. For nearly a decade, she poured almost all of her physical energy into caring for patients, managing her staff, and fulfilling media contracts, but constantly pushing her body to the limit without taking real time off to rest began taking a silent, cumulative toll on her health. Beyond the mental exhaustion, the physical mechanics of dermatological surgery created constant wear and tear on her body. Performing detailed extractions required standing, bent-over surgical tables for 10 to 12 hours a day, holding her neck and spine at rigid, uncomfortable angles. Over time, that constant hunching caused chronic spinal compression, muscle spasms, and severe neck strain. More so, the studio lighting into the mix made the physical environment even harder. The bright, high-intensity lights needed for television production generated intense heat, forcing her to operate under sweltering conditions while wearing heavy sterile gowns and gloves. That continuous physical strain slowly drained her endurance, creating a baseline of silent bodily stress long before her health emergency ever occurred. By late 2025, the relentless pace reached a boiling point, as her body began sending warning signals she couldn't afford to ignore. And then, in the middle of a routine shooting day under the bright studio lights, disaster struck without warning. The nightmare on set. On November 20th, 2025, 55-year-old Doctor Sandra Lee was in the middle of a routine filming session for her television show, treating patients just as she had done thousands of times before. Out of nowhere, a sudden wave of heat washed over her body. She began sweating profusely and felt strangely disconnected from her surroundings. Like many busy women in their 50s, her first thought was that she was simply experiencing a hot flash brought on by hormonal changes or simple fatigue. So, she brushed off the discomfort, completed her production work for the day, and went to her parents' home to rest. But as the evening came on, the strange physical sensations did not fade. Instead, a restless feeling took over her body, accompanied by sharp shooting pains traveling down one of her legs. When she tried walking down the stairs later that night, her leg felt heavy and unsteady, making every step a struggle. By the following morning, the physical warning signs became impossible to ignore. When Dr. Lee raised her left arm straight out, she watched in disbelief as her hand slowly collapsed downward, completely outside her control. Soon after, when she tried to speak, her words came out slurred, making clear speech unusually difficult. Being a trained physician, she knew what those symptoms meant, even as she struggled to accept the reality. She asked herself if she was actually having a stroke, hoping it was just a bad dream. Her father rushed her to the emergency room, where doctors ran an urgent brain scan. The magnetic resonance imaging scan confirmed her fear, She had suffered an acute ischemic stroke, a severe condition caused by a blocked blood vessel that starves brain tissue of vital oxygen. The diagnosis was a profound shock to Dr. Lee and her loved ones. Doctors at the hospital explained that her blood pressure and cholesterol levels had been quietly out of range, compounded by years of heavy stress, grueling filming schedules, and constant patient care. The emergency caused an immediate shutdown of her production schedule. Television executives paused filming for her show, clearing production calendars so their star could focus on critical medical care. The news stunned her crew, who were used to seeing her handle demanding workdays without hesitation. Suddenly, all focus turned away from producing reality television and toward preserving her mobility and health. Dr. Lee immediately had to walk away from her clinic, her patients, and her cameras to focus on her health and intensive medical therapy, leaving everyone wondering why she was out of the spotlight. Now, surviving the initial stroke was only the first battle, because the grueling road to regaining her life and mind was just beginning. A part of my brain died. The battle with PTSD, brain retraining, and recovery at 55. For 5 months following her emergency room visit, Dr. Sandra Lee kept her health crisis private while working on her physical recovery. In April 2026, at age 55, she stepped back into the public eye to share her story. Appearing on national television shows like Tamron Hall and speaking with outlets like E! News and People magazine, she revealed the truth behind her sudden absence from production. She explained to the public that she had suffered an acute ischemic stroke in November 2025 while filming new episodes for her television show. Hearing a world-renowned surgeon state that a part of her brain tissue had died sent shockwaves through her global audience, transforming her private medical emergency into a national health conversation. The physical recovery process required immense patience and daily discipline. Because the stroke damaged neural pathways, Dr. Lee had to engage in neurorehabilitation therapy to retrain her brain. Rebuilding standard mobility was only the first step for a practicing dermatological surgeon. While everyday tasks like holding a cup or typing required basic motor control, operating on human skin required surgical precision. Dr. Lee had to retrain her hands to perform delicate movements, such as holding a scalpel steadily, guiding a punch biopsy tool, and tying microsutures with exact tension. In surgery, moving a fraction of a millimeter too far can nick a blood vessel or leave a noticeable facial scar. To rebuild that muscle memory, she spent hours completing repetitive hand exercises, practicing delicate grip pressure, and refining her spatial awareness. Step by step, her mind learned how to execute the ultra-precise movements necessary to safely operate inside a sterile surgical field again. Beyond the physical obstacles, returning to work presented a heavy mental challenge. When Dr. Lee finally stepped back onto the television set to resume production, she was hit with unexpected anxiety and post-traumatic stress. Walking into the familiar studio and standing under bright lights brought back vivid memories of the morning her stroke began. She remembered feeling intensely hot, sweating, and losing control of her body in front of her camera crew. In interviews, she admitted that filming her show was one of the most stressful parts of her life, because vulnerable patients depended on her as their last hope. Being back in that environment triggered real fear of another breakdown. To protect her long-term health, she made essential changes under the guidance of her doctors. Dr. Lee began strictly managing her blood pressure and cholesterol levels, which had quietly reached dangerous ranges during years of overwork. She also used her media platform to educate the public about early stroke warning signs, urging viewers not to ignore symptoms like sudden weakness or slurred speech. Rather than viewing the stroke purely as a tragedy, she reframed it as a necessary wake-up call that forced her to step back and prioritize her personal well-being above work obligations. Her return to medical practice was guided by clear boundaries and newfound caution. She realized that maintaining her personal health was essential if she wanted to remain present for her family and continue helping patients over the long term. By confronting her physical limitations with honesty, Dr. Pimple Popper turned a frightening health crisis into a story of personal resilience. Rising from a life-threatening crisis, Dr. Sandra Lee now stands at a profound crossroads of healing and legacy, redefining purpose, legacy, and life after tragedy. After decades of working late into the night, she decided her health had to come first. She put strict limits on her schedule, cutting her surgical patient load and stepping back from television production. Instead of taking on every severe condition that arrived, she began delegating procedures to her team of associates at skin physicians and surgeons in Upland. Passing the baton allowed younger dermatologists to step up while giving her time to recover. For the first time in her career, saying no became an essential part of her medical routine. This shift in boundaries also changed how she used her public platform. While viral extraction videos made her a household name, Dr. Lee began shifting her media focus toward preventive dermatology, stroke awareness, and health education. She realized that sharing her personal vulnerability opened up a new way to connect with people. Instead of appearing as an invincible doctor who had everything under control, she spoke openly about her physical recovery, blood pressure management, and stress control. At home, she made quality time with her husband, Dr. Jeff Rebish, and her two sons the center of her world, making up for the family time and weekends she missed during her peak filming years. At age 55, her definition of success looks completely different than when her YouTube channel first exploded in 2014. Building a massive digital empire was an incredible milestone, but surviving a health crisis reshaped her priorities toward long-term balance and peace of mind. Today, she focuses on mentoring the next generation of skincare specialists, ensuring her patient-first philosophy continues inside her clinic. Her journey shows that true professional accomplishment is not about working until your body gives out, but about knowing when to slow down, heal, and cherish the life you have built. Her story is no longer just about popping cysts or going viral online. It is about a doctor who spent her career fixing other people, only to realize she needed to care for herself. By choosing healing over non-stop hustle, Dr. Sandra Lee built a legacy that extends far beyond the surface of the skin. Her resilience shows us that no matter how busy we get, taking care of our physical and mental health remains the most important work we will ever do. But from another angle, did Dr. Pimple Popper truly change the way we view skincare? Or is her story a warning about what happens when social media algorithms demand content until there's nothing left to give? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more content like this, tap on the next video on your screen.